Welcome to the Crypto Andrew channel. Let's look at your favorite coin, XCN. Alright, so XCN currently coming in at the price of 2 cents, and you got to move to the downside. So to me, at this point, we're obviously still bearish. We've been bearish for a little bit of time now, at least on the macro time frames. So let me start on the daily time frame and work our way down. Daily time frame is oversold. I'll look at the 3-day quickly. 3 days oversold. So 3-day, 2-day, daily, all oversold. The 12-hour time frame oversold. 8-hour time frame for the RSI almost oversold. That got very close to being oversold. I would like to see that come all the way back down, because if I zoom in here, you can see it did not get all the way oversold. That's at 8. So we'll see what happens. That could be actually bullish though if you can make a high low on the RSI, while the price, I take that back, but the price didn't make a lower low, so that's not bullish divergence. So I recant that statement. Oh, by the way, I still have this measured move down here all the way down to about 1.2 cents on XCN. So we'll see what happens, but that is still the bigger measured move out of this descending triangle on the 8-hour time frame from really back on the 6th, about 2 weeks ago. What was that, 12 days ago? Almost 2 weeks ago. That descending triangle is still, it is still valid. 8-hour time frame is oversold though. The 6-hour time frame did get oversold, and trying to get a bounce lackluster. 4-hour time frame almost looks like you're going to put in another lower high. Every time you put in a lower high, you had some kind of crazy wick. Now 1, 2, 3 times. This second time, you never got completely overbought. And this time, you're not overbought yet, but we'll see what happens. If you can take out this wick, which you couldn't do back here, well, actually right there you did take it out, so maybe I shouldn't say that. But that was the next candle. And that wick right now, if you don't get a wick above this, above 2.3 cents on this current candle in the next 2 hours and 39 minutes on the 4-hour time frame, it's very likely that that is your high and you roll over. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm saying right now. So if you don't do it in this candle, it's likely at this point that that would be your top for a lower high, and then you make a lower low. We'll see what happens. That is based on the 4-hour time frame. 3-hour time frame, you can see, is almost overbought, about to make a lower high. You're well below the 200-day moving average on most of these time frames. Even on the 4-hour, you're below it. That's not a good sign. If you lose it on the 4-hour time frame, again, I've said this before, then I would go down to the 6-hour. That's at 1.7 cents. So right now, that's your next bounce point on the 6-hour time frame. The 2-hour time frame is well below the 200. You're also below the 21, and the 2-hour time frame is completely overbought, making a lower high unless you can get some follow through on like the 4-hour time frame. But to me right now, it looks lackluster. And if you don't get a new high above 2.3 cents in the next 2.5 hours, like I just said, based on the 4-hour time frame, it's likely that right now XCN is done. So I'm going to continue lower. And honestly, if you just want to keep it simple, if you're not following so far, trend lines work pretty well. I don't trade by them, but I know people that do, and they make money. That is a simple trend line. Now, you could say, if you break this trend line, you could flip long or get out of a short. Until you break this trend line, which is well above 2.3 cents, but right now it's coming at 2.5, so I guess it's not that high above it. If you break 2.5 cents, I would be looking for a long on XCN. But for right now, that is kind of the trend line I would use. But also, if you just stay below the 200-day moving average on any of these time frames, it's also just probably likely to continue to the downside. So that's a very rough trend line I drew, but it's going to be pretty accurate. So if XCN can't break this trend line, you can also say it's bearish. But that's basically the same thing that the 200-day moving average is, but I just did it manually. So if you're below this white trend line, you can draw on your own chart. XCN is bearish on the 1-hour time frame, on any time frame, even on the 50-minute time frame. So really, the nice thing about that trend line is it's not going to change from time frame to time frame like the moving averages will based on different time frames. So to me, like, if you don't break that trend line, it can't ever be bullish. At some point, that's going to break, but at what point is that going to happen? So we can also say down here at this level of about 1.85 cents, you have a local low and a bounce point, which is going to act as support. So if you do get the move coming to the downside for a lower low here, lower high, and then you make a lower low, I would expect, even if you do break it long term, to get some kind of bounce here. Maybe you get back to the top of this trend line, get another bounce. Back to the trend line, another bounce, and then until you get tight. And when you get tight, well, you would probably dump, because if you keep getting tighter in this trend line but can't break this top trend line, it's likely that you roll over, because just like up here, I'll zoom in, you were making lower highs, but you made the same lows. And if that starts to happen here, just on a massive time frame, this would be a bigger descending triangle coming out of the smaller descending triangle, and that would be extremely bearish. Now, obviously, if you crack this trend line, then I would be out of a short, definitely, and maybe even long. But until that happens, you can't really be bullish on this asset, XCN. And unfortunately, your measure move, if this does happen, that's a big if, because that's a ways away from happening, most likely. But if you do the bearish scenario, that would take you down to half a penny on XCN. So we do have to have that idea that now we could be, if we keep making lower highs, can't break this trend line, but keep making the same lows, this is most likely going to become some kind of descending triangle with a measure move of half a penny. Now, a lot of things would have to happen. That would mean you can't break this top trend line. If you do, then that it would invalidate this entire thing. You have to hold the bottom trend line, and obviously keep making lower highs and lower lows. So really those two things happen, I guess, on the 4-hour time frame. And that says that sometime, if this does happen, it would be sometime by the 28th of this month, in about 10 days, where we could be getting a massive dump to the downside if you keep making lower highs and the same lows. But the bullish scenario is you break this, and then if you break this, your next resistance is 3.2 cents. I'm not saying the most likely scenario is that we do dump down here, because I think you need a lot more price action to happen for that to be a possibility. But what I am saying is that you have to have the most bearish scenario on the table, which I think this is, and the most bullish scenario is you get a reversal back to the resistance at 3.2 cents. But I will say, if I had to take a shot, and if I had to bet on anything, I would be short on this just because you're below key moving averages and you're below this downsloping now, I would say, trend line. So to me, I think that it's short term more likely that we keep getting moves to the downside, but I'm not saying you're making a descending triangle, although I do see this for the first time right now, and I do think that is a 40% chance that this is going to happen. So we'll see what happens. But with that being said, guys, that's all I got. I'm sorry I'm bearish on it, but I don't want to say I'm bullish and have you guys buy it and then we go straight down. So this is not financial advice. It's just what I see on the charts. Right now, it looks more bearish to me than bullish. If you guys enjoyed this video, appreciate if you hit the like and subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you get notified every time I post a video. If you guys have requests for other altcoins, let me know in the comment section below, and I'll look at them. And as always, if you guys want to join our trading group, link to join is in the description on YouTube below. I'll be live on Saturday at 11 p.m. Central Time on Clapper and YouTube. Cheers.